Now, for the moment, let me explain the performing the process approach audit. See how process approach audits are done. We are integrating different processes, the three gray, pink, and green. These are the three different processes. So how we are linking one process with the other is what we are going to discuss. And that's how audits are really done. For example, process X is customer related process. And this is when you determine what customer needs, communication with the customer, your review, whether you can do it or not, any changes that the customer might have in their requirement and your deliverables, etc., etc. So once this is done, this process will give some output. This output will go to the next processes. So from the customer related process, you get input for design. For example, design process will give you design process need input, and that input comes from the contract. Why is it getting disconnected again and again? The contract document will have a lot of requirements, geographical data, the design requirement, all those things will be in the contract itself. In the review process, you get those things. So these become, some of them become input for design review. Now, design review may have more inputs, not necessarily from the previous process, from other sources. These are information for a process. So technical delivery condition, technical spec, these things could be the output of the previous process, which can become input for design process. So design process also will have controls like verification, review, validation. These are all controls. So activity, design activity needs input, which comes from the previous process. It has got controls, and this will give outputs. So outputs are going to the next processes. So design process, one of the output could be material specification that is required for purchase. Now purchase also needs what the contract requires. So from the customer related process, some output will become input for purchase process. This could be, in addition to that, you may have other requirements. For example, supplier quotations you might need, purchase order, letter of credit, technical delivery condition, etc., would become requirement input for purchase process. You get input from previous process. For example, for purchasing, your contract may say you have to buy this material or get the design done or whatever from these approved vendor. So that could be an input for purchase process. If you place order on somebody who is not approved by your customer, they might not accept it. So purchase process also will have control like verification of purchase order, LC, approval. Then output will be the purchase product. Purchase process output is purchase product. So from design process, you got drawing, you need more procedure and control for operational process, which is the manufacturing process. So for manufacturing, you need design document, you need material that is purchased, you need procedure. These are the input for production process, and production process give the output, which is a product. So to get this product, you need all of this. Do you agree with me?
Yes, sir.
So as an auditor, your point of verification would be all these. You have to check this process, this input, this output, all these points are your checkpoints as an auditor. If all these things are controlled properly, then your finished product will meet customer requirement. If anything goes wrong, the finished product will be affected. So as an auditor, you have to see that this organization, different processes are very well integrated. And each process is depending on the previous process. We call predecessor and successor process. This is the predecessor process, this is the successor process. So successor process, these are the predecessor process for this process. So it is all about predecessor and successor process interlinked that makes a process approach audit. So you as an auditor will have to look at all these in an integrated manner. Is this clear, my friends?
Yes, sir.
Is it
Sir,
not very
but,
interesting and logical?
sir, but this one varies from organization to organization, right, sir? For example, in EMS, the yesterday's we did, right, sir, there is no design scope. So it's not universal for everyone, right, sir? Every organization.
That's true. That's very, very true. Good point you raised. This need not be because many organizations do not have design. So this is to explain how a processes are linked. It is just for academic interest. Some process may not be there. So from contract, you might directly get the requirement and you have got purchase material. So you can start servicing process. You don't need design. But the design information or procedure or whatever, it might come from the external document, which is the Ford has given you, for example, the service requirements. So those are output of their design process, which is not important for you. I mean, important for you, but not in your scope. Right?
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
This is how the
So
process.
for example, sir, just on the same day to get arrive at this, I think we have to get all the data quite earlier, or because not, I don't think in an organization only they will handle one kind of projects, right, sir? We have to get the information quite earlier, or we have to look for the same day or day.
I didn't get your point, Abdul. Can you please once again ask me on the context? What is the question?
So on the last slide, sir. Can you go to the
Yeah.
last slide?
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
Process.
Yeah.
Sorry, like contract wise, dependencies and the process will be different. Maybe in every organization they may have 10 to 15 contracts. Do we have to go through all in that case?
Yeah, this is what is going to come to the next in the next slide. I'm going to talk about this.
Okay, okay, okay.
Thank you. Now we are performing, when we are performing audit, we have to perform audit with the process owner. For example, Abdul, you are responsible for, say, stimulation service. You know ins and outs of it. So for the stimulation, you are the person to be contacted and audited. And you can say, I am also involved, Navid is also involved, Ajit is also involved for this and that. So I talk to those people. Arun may not be involved with this process. So if I ask Arun and he says, no, I don't know about it. And you say that these people do not know what they're doing, which is wrong, right? Because he's not involved with this. So as an auditor, you have to always audit the responsible person associated with this task. That's what we call process owner. So ask relevant question to the relevant people. Otherwise, you will get wrong conclusion. You will get wrong answers. You cannot make a conclusion because you are not asking the questions to the right people. So this is the reason you need to have the guide. And if the guide will take it to the right person, and in the audit planning stage itself, you say that these are the things, these are the process you are going to audit. So you will be taken to those corresponding department and right people. This is what is called process owners. Okay. Now take random samples. Now, what is random sample? This is very important. Actually, this is not only important for, I would say, audit. It is applicable in most of our field as you are working as engineer, random sampling or sampling is very important. Sampling would give you a higher level of confidence. If the samples are correctly taken, you get better level of confidence. For example, you have got 5 jobs going on, all right? So do you have time to go through all 5 jobs?
No.
But you have to get a conclusion, or you have to arrive at a very positive, state of conformity assessment that yes, they are in conformity or there are problems. You have to conclusively decide, and that will depend on the sample that you take. Do you agree with me? Now I will show you a slide, and I think next slide is talking about this. Now, random sample is very interesting. See, when we are cooking rice, okay, how many samples you take to test the rice is cooked well? Who knows, Mohammed? You have ever prepared rice?
Yes.
Yeah. So how many rice grains you have to press and test to see the entire rice is cooked?
1 spoon.
One or
2 or
two, right?
3.
One or
Yes.
two.
Only one.
Yeah. How many
Only one.
rice will be there in a bowl of 1 kilo?
I don't know.
Few
A
millions.
lot. A
Few
lot.
millions. So 1 in a million you are testing, but still you can say all are acceptable, all are cooked, or all are still not fully cooked, right?
Yes.
So
Yes.
what I'm trying to drive here is, if your sample is chosen right, you can take with a limited sample from a large population, make a very conclusive decision flawlessly. Now, what this is called, you have to identify the source of the material and whether they are in similar condition that can be sampled. So their environmental condition, their basic information should be taken in such a way that the variables are similar. They are undergoing the similar heat, similar duration, similar vessel size, all those kind of things. Similar grain size almost. All right. So from 1 or 2 sample, you can make this. But just imagine from 1 vessel, there are 2 vessels being cooked side by side. Can you accept other vessel without taking sample, and you take 1 sample from 1 vessel? Can you forecast or accept or reject the other vessel? No, because the conditions and the variables may be different. So you have to actually cover different variables. If both of them are acceptable, you feel 2 samples you have taken, but you have accepted 2 million rice grains,
Yeah.
which is 3.4 is 6 sigma. 3.4 sample in a million is equivalent to 6 sigma. So if you accept 1 and can accept 1 million, or with 2, you are making 2 million, you are much beyond 6 sigma level of accuracy while you are detecting samples. You understood? So does not
Yes.
it give very high level of confidence to you?
Yeah.
This is what you have to now simulate or apply in your industry. So when you take a sample, you see what the people doing this job. For example, what the welders welding today and yesterday, 10 welders. So if you take randomly 2 welder samples randomly, and you know that they are going through the similar process of control, similar training they get, similar material they use, similar electrode they are using, similar machinery and equipment they're using,
Similar current.
So similar current voltage, they use similar procedures. So if you take two samples and both the samples are okay, do you feel though these two are good? I know that these two are good, but I don't know how the others would be. You get a very high level of confidence, even though you're taking two samples. Uh, I think, Abdul, you understood now how the samples should be taken. All jobs need not be sampled, but you take jobs randomly to cover the population to get a confidence. Is this clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Now,
Excuse
one
me,
more
sir.
thing is, for
Yeah.
each product, you have to take sample. If there are 5 different products in your scope of certification, you have to take samples for each product and processes. For example, in NEPESCO, when I've gone for audit, your scope is laboratory testing. You don't do calibration, so laboratory testing of environmental samples. So we have taken air sample, we have taken soil testing sample, we have taken water testing samples, and whatever is in our scope. And at least 2 samples done by 2 different persons at two different time. And by doing that, we have ensured that your testing process is in accordance with the requirement. We have gone through their competence, the people of the organization who is performing the test, their competence, their training, their records, their procedures, all those things, those are relevant. This is one scope. When I've gone for cementing, I've again gone to the cement lab. I've taken sampling from, I've audited people in the cementing division, talked to the scientists who are involved in cement design or slurry design and study and simulation, all those things. So I have taken 2 orders of 2 different types of cementing operation, which was done for KOC, for example. One was done in, say, in June, one was done in last January. So if both the samples done by 2 different teams, I find that both of them are good. I feel in 6 months' time, 2 different groups doing the job in the similar level of proficiency. Do I still have doubt that NEPESCO do not have control on cementing? But in this process, you have done 600 jobs. So this is how random sample should be taken. So I take sample considering the number of people or the groups. So I try to cover both the groups. So ensure that one group's good performance is fine. Another team is also doing similar. If one group is very good, another group is very bad, for example, to explain, then you are confused that, hey, one group is doing excellent job, another group, there are a lot of problems. You may have to take another sample. If you find there is another problem, then you know the more of the cases are problems. So one sample was good because this team was exceptionally good. So you might raise a major non-conformity here. But all processes you have to cover. So then I have gone to stimulation. Okay. So different, because your scope involves laboratory, it involves cementing, it involves stimulation, it involves nitrogen service. So all those things, all those processes are to be covered, which is there in your scope. The scope is important and those processes, but you take at least 2 samples on a different space of time, done by possibly 2 different teams. All right. Is this
Excuse me,
clear,
sir.
my friends?
Excuse me, sir, I have to.
Yeah.
Yeah, in the different process you were saying, in the different on each process, we will have the sub activities. For example, they have, for example, if it is a piping fabrication is a process, there are so many activities, hydrotest, NDT, those kind of activities there. So each of them are controlling activities. Should we need to verify all those activities?
Yes, absolutely. I will take one sample. For example, if I do audit of your skid manufacturing process, what I am going to do is, first of all, I'll see the design. Okay, have you done design based on code and standard requirement, whether it has been approved by the customer, whether your people are capable of doing it, or what is their competence level defined by your organization, and whether the people are competent, whether they're verified, reviewed, validated all those kind of design related element, the purchasing was done properly for those items, and the procurement has happened, where the production has happened, whether there is an inspection of receiving material, so the pipes are in accordance with the requirement, valves are with the requirement, the pressure switches, or whatever components are there, and the skid fabrication, it has gone into welding, different people have welded their qualification. I'll take samples. I'll take two welders. Okay, can I see this welder is welding? What is his qualification? Whether it is in accordance with the requirement. I will go to, okay, how do you finally test it? How do you hydro test the system? So take the hydro test report that this is what you have already done. I'm not witnessing, that's different from inspection. I will
Yes.
check whether you have a process that these are done and whether it is hydro tested in accordance with the requirement. It is supposed to be done in 15 bar and you have not done in 15 bars. So I'm not going to ask, show me the test now, you do it in front of me. But I will
Yes.
say that, show me the hydro test record and show me what was the requirement and who reviewed this. Whether the hydro test was done in accordance with the requirement, whether you are maintaining pressure chart, where you are maintaining the pressure gauge calibration, what kind of record and what kind of water you have used, what was requirement by the standards. All those things I'm going to check, and finally I will conclude that yes, this item has been manufactured in accordance with the customer requirement. I have seen evidence of entire process from beginning to end. Possibly I'll take the ITP and show me the ITP, all the inspection has been concluded, and you have inspected the item properly with the people, release the item, including customer review, including a third party if is involved.
Okay,
Got my point?
clear.
So call us for your audit next time. We will go and see your system maybe at the time of your audit. All right, so is this clear how you are taking random samples, how you are performing the audit?
Sir.
Okay, now next is audit sampling. I have already mentioned. Audit trails. Audit trails are a very important concept. Audit trail is basically movement of the auditors from one process to another process, right? Because there are so many things you have to do, so many questions you are going to ask, so many processes, linked processes you are going to verify. So where do you start? Where do you end? It will become haphazard, complete haphazard, unless you follow a trail, a logical movement. So this is the concept of audit trail. Let me take you to the previous slide. Now, again, let me come to the current slide. Now, audit trail, trace forward, trace backward, and mixed trail. Now, trace forward is walk through the process from the beginning to end. Trace backward means starting at the end point and go to the beginning of the process. What it really means is this. Very, very interesting concept. Can you see this process flow chart?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay. Now, in these three processes, say you are auditing these three processes, four processes. One is customer related process, which possibly Ajit is going to do. I don't know whom I have given purchase process and whom I have given production process, whoever is doing. So what is happening? I start.
Purchase for me.
Pardon?
Purchase you given to me.
Okay. Now imagine trace forward is a concept. When you start at this point, customer related process. So in the customer related process, you look at the inputs, look at the controls, look at the outputs. What are the outputs it is going? Then you are asking questions one by one. What you do after this? What you do after this? What you do? In other words, I will ask, how do you determine customer requirement? How do you document customer requirement? How do you review the customer requirement, whether all are clear? What do you do if some of the requirements are not clear? How do you communicate with the customer to clarify? What kind of records you maintain of those conversations or communications? And what kind of agreement you make to ensure that your understanding of customer requirement is clear and customer and you are happy with this, what you are going to deliver. Once it is done, then you start, then you review that you can do it at what time you are going to do. If suddenly customer comes up with a change, how do you review those change requirements? If the changes might affect your time, cost, design, or whatever, how do you take into consideration of all those things? These are the questions. With that, there'll be corresponding output. Now, from those, you go to the next point. Say you are going to design point after contract related process. So then this output of this process is coming. So you take into this, then you come to the next process. And at that time, I don't know, I think Arun have given the purchase process. I will take Arun, these are the things you consider when you are conducting the purchase element. All these outputs are going there or not, you check and you move along with the purchase process. Now, when I go into this process, I check this, and then I am moving out, moving through all these and taking into consideration of all these inputs, outputs, everything, and then going to the next process. So I walk from this process, came to the next process. From there, next process I'm coming. So as if you are moving from the earlier process, predecessor process to successor process, to next successor process, and then come to the product and check the product is meeting the requirement or not. So you have originated in the starting point and moved along with the end points. Is this clear?
Yes, sir.
So as if you have moved along with the river from the origin till the ocean, trace forward. Trace backward would be, I start here. For example, I take a product which is going out from the factory. For example, Ajit's product that, the skid, it is going out and mounted in a 40-feet trailer. I stop this vehicle, sir, can you allow me to take the sample? So I take the detail of this product, drawing number, contract number, the destination and trailer, even the trailer, where it is mounted, the securing and everything. I will take at the final point. So I am here in the finished products being shipped to your customer. Say ADNOC it is going. All right.
Mm-hmm.
Or Aramco it is going. That is when I started. I now tell or ask, Sabari, can you please show me that this product has been inspected and released? So then I say, who released it? Whether he is authorized, his competence, inspection report. Can you show me the release report? Can you show me the inspection reports? And then I come to the previous point. Where is the design document? What was the drawing based on which you have done? So I take from their drawing number, design number. I come to the design department. I say, this is the item you have designed. Can you show me this design plan? Who was involved in this design? What is the competence of those people? Where the design input taken? Where the design output? Then I check this design output, which are the drawing were actually used for this process.
Yeah.
So from there, I am going to the origin point. Then I go, okay, you have taken these inputs. Now let me see what is the contract for this job. So I came from the last point, from the design, and then I came to the contract. So I have traced backward. So as if you started at the river mouth in the ocean and started going uphill to the source of the river. So this is trace backward. So trace backward is also a very good technique that when a job is completed, you should be able to see the entire cycle of the process for conformity. So I love this technique. I take a sample at the final stage because I now know that entire process must have been completed in accordance with the system requirement. From there, there is no way that you can, or the customer did not have completed any of the requirement. Everything must have been completed because finished product is going out, right?
Yes.
So I am in a position to check everything and I will be able to decide conclusively whether they have complied with all the requirements or conformity to all the requirements of the code, standard, or customer. This is called trace backward. So trace forward, trace backward, and mixed trail is somewhere you start in the middle and go back and forth. So you take a sample, for example, some vessels, in one contract, there are several vessels manufactured. So one order you have taken, which is ongoing, and some of them have been completed on a different order. So you take one order, go back to the origin point, take another sample from this point, trace forward. So you are mixing trace forward and trace backward. You should take at least 2 samples because by doing that, you ensure that you have covered different variables, time, the different time span you have covered. Something was done in January, something is done in June, and both the time span has been covered. So it was good at that time also. It was great, the same good at this point of time also. Different people, team like Abdul Haq and Sabrina did it, and Arun and Ajit did another job. Both the products are good. That means all teams are doing in the similar fashion. Is it not going to give you much greater level of confidence?
Sure, sir.
After that, if you have got doubt, you have got problem in your mind because you don't want to be happy. Who can make you happy? So as an auditor, you should look for conformity in a very open mind. Coming back to the definition of audit, it's an independent process. It's a systematic process, documented process to find objective evidence and evaluate them, to find evidence of conformity and evaluate them objectively. Evaluate objectively means you have got an evidence, you have to take the meaning that it means. Hydrotest report signed means it is done. You cannot suspect, okay, I have seen the hydrotest report is signed. How do I know this is not fabricated? Can you show me a picture of the event? No, this is not your intention to find. There is an evidence of hydrotest done. There is a possibly a chart maintained. This is the evidence. This is what it means that it is hydrotested. So objective evidence should be evaluated objectively to find the degree of conformity against a requirement. That's audit. So never forget this definition because this itself includes all your role, responsibility, and processes for the audit. All right?
I have a question.
Yes.
Please.
Yes.
So you just mentioned about, as an example, the hydro test, and you said that what if it was fabricated? So let's say that we should, as auditors, we should always give the benefit of the doubt, right?
Yeah, it's not, yeah, true. It's
Yes,
not
so-
giving you a benefit of doubt. You should not have doubt itself.
So let's say that, okay, we did that, and they actually ended up being fabricating the report, and they attained the certification. What let's as a theoretical example, just to understand.
Okay. First of all, our job is not to find and audit. We are not spy catchers. We are not counter intelligence people. We are not doing spying around them. This is not our role. If there is an
Yes.
evidence of conformity, we say we have decided based on the evidence that they have provided. Now just imagine hydro test report is an evidence of hydro test being performed in that organization. Do you agree with me?
Yes.
So I take this sample. um, for example, this is the hydro test report. I take the note, the hydro test of this component was done on the 6th of June. Okay. Now, can I see your work plan or product realization plan where that there was a communication? Maybe this hydro test was witnessed by customer, or how was it planned? What was the plan for that day? So if that was a plan for the day, it can correspond to that. If I will say, okay, can you show me the chart recorder? That hydro test is normally done with a recorded chart. Not necessarily has to be with a recorded chart, but there'll be start time, end time, whoever is signed. I will check, okay, show me this person, whether I will talk to him. So can you explain how do you perform hydro test? What was your role in doing this? So how do you document? So by doing this, I will be able to definitely find what is the process they follow. Now,
Okay.
by doing this, I can definitely find out that this is a process. But at that point of time, my intention is not to find whether they are really doing it or not. I'm with an open mind asking them, can you please explain your plan for the day? You have done hydro test. Can you show me the calibration report of your pressure gauge? Yeah, many organizations actually issue a gauge issue register because the gauges are very precious item. So they are stored in one place, released under controlled condition to somebody who will be authorized to carry it and give it back. So how do you issue the pressure gauges? How will you ensure that the gauges are kept secured, they do not get dropped? If a pressure gauge is dropped, within the validity period itself, it will become invalid. So how do you protect? So who are the people carrying? I will talk to the guy, okay, this is the person. Can I speak to him? How do you handle a pressure gauge so that this is protected? How do you handle it? How do you check it is functioning properly or not? So I am going to talk to many people to understand the process, and only I am not deciding based on the record. I am checking and interviewing in the process, and then I'm asking, show me an evidence. So it's like a show and tell. It's not give me 5 evidence, which is a fabricated story. There are a lot of company does, Mr. Mohammed. It's not true that it's not, I would say, uncommon that some people do not do mischiefs. They create all these reports to show. But these companies are actually going to go to docs because you are doing hydro test to ensure your product is safe and it is functioning. It has to go and work in your client site. If it is leaking at the site, and then your contract will be cancelled, you'll be kicked out of the contract. I'm not saying this bad company is going to be kicked out. So what the hell he is doing the audit for? Why he will cheat? You understood?
Yes.
So he gains nothing by keeping the shortcut. So these processes are important safeguard for his product, that it meets the end user requirement. Otherwise, if it leaks in the customer, they'll say, what the hell you have done? And just because you have signed the report, do you feel it is fit for the for the purpose?
Oh.
If it is not fit for the purpose, what is the point in supplying this item? So all I am saying is, I do not believe that organizations does cheating of this magnitude to deceive anybody. And if, trust me, if they are doing some shortcuts or some hanky-panky business, if I would like to say, it is very easy. We are so much seasoned and seen the industry. If a fake report comes in few minutes, I will know there is something wrong in it. And then I will be able to start introducing my the inquisitive mind to ask relevant questions, and they'll be caught if they do it. No way to get away with a false statement. If everything is fine, it's fine.
Thank you.
Now, horizontal audit. These are audit techniques. Horizontal audit is a process of, or a concept. Horizontal audit is a concept when you are auditing one element across the organization. Almost you are moving in a horizontal direction. What you do? You move in a horizontal direction. So, for example, control of document in one department, control of document in next department, control of document next department. So the same element in different departments. Got my point?
Sure.
Horizontal audit. Why you do this? You have to ensure that your documents are effectively implemented everywhere in all departments. This is called horizontal audit. Now, vertical audit is when you are auditing one department, and in one department you may have several different ISO elements applicable. For example, you go to production department. So production department starts with, or service department, car service department, Universal Motors. When they start servicing, they need the purchase order or service order, not purchase order, service order from customer relations department. This becomes their basis for audit, performance of the job. So when I am auditing them, I look at their communication with another department. Then I look at their processes of service provision. I look at competence of their people. I check control of their documents. I check control of their records. All those elements are applicable in their department, correct? Correct or not?
Sure, sir.
Yes, sir.
So as if I am moving vertically from one department, different elements I am auditing. So this is a process more efficient because you don't have so much of time to check all processes in all departments. In that case, audit will never end. You don't have this time. Your audit will have to be completed in a reasonable time without disruption of the normal operation of the company. This is why there are guidelines on how the audit mandates are calculated, how the audits will be done, what is the audit duration, all these things, there are guidelines. So vertical audit is a normal process of audit adopted by the certification body or external auditors. But internal audit, you can take horizontal as well as vertical audit, because in the horizontal element audit, you have to check whether every department effectively the same element has been implemented or not, because you don't know which element where the external auditor will check. So each department, each process, applicable process has to be well established. So horizontal audit is one element across the organization. Vertical audit, one department, applicable elements in their department. Clear?
I have a question.
Yes.
Yes. Question is there also. Yes is also there. So let me take the question.
Okay. So in the vertical audit, it says that the second point, upon completion, move on to the next assigned department. So what's the difference between this and the forward trail audit?
Basically same thing. These are just concept techniques of auditing. Earlier one was how you move.
Yes.
The horizontal audit and vertical audits are audit techniques. Okay. And the earlier one was audit trail, how you move from one place to another. So it's a process flow of an auditor.
Okay. Understood.
Taking notes. This is what the first thing I do remember Abdul Haq was asking, how do you take notes? You know, and you remember, Abdul, you were asking this, and because Blesson was taking good notes and I was taking good notes. this is an ability and attribute of an auditor. As an auditor, you must take note as you move and perform the audit, because you cannot go and ask, oh, Mohammed, I took this order. This, you know, that fabricated item, there's a long, you know, very heavy section I have taken. What was the customer? Okay. Okay, Mohammed, I forgot actually what was the equipment number or the member number. So then after third question, you will ask Mr. Ray, please tell me what more question you need from me. So I will supply at a time. By the way, what you did when you have done the audit? Sahibullah. So what I was doing, I was gossiping, chit-chatting, having coffee and drinks and saying everything fine. I was seeing everything. I was not observing. I was not taking notes. So you have to take, you know, notes, precise note. You don't have to start taking everything. It's not like all that you have seen, you start taking notes. No. While you take notes, you're basically taking the order number, sample number, possibly the person that you are talking to, the drawing number, revision number, and then the report number or inspection report number, so on and so forth. So that you have got a sufficient evidence, your audit observation. So your conclusion is based on the and evidences that you have seen in the organization. All right.